Just an announcement. This is a virtual meeting reminder for the short term. You should introduce yourself at the virtual meeting with a statement of what is going on for anyone who is viewing and listening to the meeting. So pursuant to the Governor's Baker's March 12th, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, General Bylaw C-30A, Section 20, and the Governor's March 15th, 2020 order imposing strict limitations on the number of people that may gather in one place. This meeting of the Recreation Commission is being conducted via remote participation. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings of them as provided for by the law. And just to remind everyone on the board that we have to do the votes by roll call.
Okay, and then I just have a reminder that persons who would like to, or people who would like to listen to or view this meeting while in progress may do so by tuning into BCAT Government Cable Access Channel and BCAT Government Meeting, or over the phone. And that number is 408-418-9388. And the meeting number is 353-045-546. So we did our part there.
All right. So why don't we begin? We have the minutes of April 16th, 2020 to approve. Do I have a motion for that?
So moved.
353.
By David and second by Tom.
Yep.
All right. Any discussion on the minutes? No? Okay, well then all in favor, we'll do a roll call vote. So David Norton,
Aye.
Tom Murphy,
Aye.
Kevin Sheehan,
Aye.
and Kevin Sullivan, aye. So the minutes pass for April 16th, 2020. And Brendan will go with the Director of Parks and Recreation report.
Thank you. I hope everyone's doing well. As we continue to trudge through this odd time in our history, but we'll get into some good stuff here. Field maintenance, our spring overseeding and fertilizing has been completed. And we've begun to cut and trim the parks and athletic fields. There are signs already of new grass coming up on a couple of the fields. It's easier to see in the fields that had more bare spots, but it's about a 10-day incubation period for the grass. So we are starting to see signs out at Regan, some at Veterans, and some of the fuller fields that we're just treating the spots. Those will be popping up as well. Obviously, with continued precipitation in the forecast and cooler nights and the warmer days really help. We got teased this weekend with some really nice days, but I think looking long term, we're going to get up into the higher 50s and 60s on a more regular basis. So that will help pop that grass even more. And then the fertilizer treatments, you can see we're getting a nice even color across the athletic fields. So excuse me, we are seeing the results of that. Speaking of mowing, we have the new mower that we received last year after the unfortunate accident with one of the mowers. We're lucky that no one was severely hurt. It did come in late in the fall, and we had to get plates on it before we could put it out. And we wanted to do some training as well. And I think it came late October, and then we had that early November snow. So we didn't do anything training wise on it then. We got it out on Tuesday and we had the representative from Jacobson down and he provided a training for our staff. It went pretty well. Everyone got a chance to utilize it. We kept our staff in two groups and came in at two different times. They practiced physical or social distancing during the process. We have wipes on hand and masks, gloves. So, they were able to wipe down the machine, but use gloves while they were inside. And they got an opportunity to run it up and down over at Upper Rahanis. And then the staff that was working that day went back after and finished the cut of the entire field. And it looks really nice. And it's been out a couple times since. So if you see it out there, it's a orangish Jacobson large area mower with a glass enclosed cab. So it's pretty nice. It's compact and it gives us that 16-foot cut. So it looks nice out there. I'll say that. So keep your eye out for it.
Oh, I saw it, Brendan, the other day. It looked awesome.
Yeah.
It looks a lot safer with the cab on it too.
Yeah. It just went down Tunnel Road 20 minutes ago. I just saw it. Yeah.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, it's nice. Looks
Yeah.
cool.
So I'm going to try to keep that to the fields that we've been treating that, and that don't have, a lot of weeds or any weeds at all, just because of the transfer. When it gets on the decks, they clean them off and everything, but we can keep it, certain days of the week to those fields that have been treated, then and use the other mower, the Toro, on all the other fields. We can balance that schedule, I think. So we're working on that and how that will look for the summer. Because once the grass really starts growing and we're getting into cutting it now, some have been cut twice already, some fields. When we're cutting twice a week, those nice athletic fields, then we want a nice clean mower each time and not taking stuff from, areas that haven't been treated that might have some dandelions and some
Awesome.
weeds. So yeah. It's just
It looks a lot safer with the cab
cultural
on it,
practice
too.
that we need to get into. So,
Brendan,
next
on
item.
Brendan, on the fields,
Yep.
is there an opportunity to aerate and overseed the human services field and treat that? I know it doesn't have irrigation, but
Yeah.
it's this time of the year, we could get away without the irrigation.
Yeah, so I will check in with Tomer because it'll probably be a different product that they would want to put out, something that has more of a moisture saver in the granular that they use. So when it breaks down into the soil, it will retain water as it rains, and water comes through the soil, and then it'll keep it'll react longer. It'll stay in the soil longer. So there's, in the how they build the fertilizer, the synthetic, it has a water retaining element to it. So I can get him, he's pretty responsive. I can probably get him out here early next week. And he can take a look and come up with a product for us. So we'll look into that.
And does that cover all the fields? Are we on top of everything we can be on top of?
We are
Other
on top of
than
everything we can be, yes. Yep.
So Francis Wyman, how did that work out?
That actually looks pretty good. I haven't walked all the way out on it yet, but from what I can see, it's already been cut. And what I can see, it seems to be a nice even green. There is a spot in center field of the baseball field that, had some issues before this, and we'll have to go back and look at that again. And it could be something as simple as grubs, and we'll have to find that, some kind of organic treatment for grubs. I've used in the past nematodes, and they're put on with a liquid spray. I don't want to bore anyone, but it comes in a sponge and it's loaded with nematodes. which are just microorganisms, and you soak that into a big 200-gallon sprayer, and then you spray it out on the affected area, and the nematodes go direct into the soil and they interact with the grubs. So it was an organic measure that we used. Problem is they come cool, like refrigerated, and you have like 48 hours to use them. So we really have to watch the weather and see how that would work. But I'm going to ask him to take a look at that spot in particular and see if, if it is a grub thing or if it's just something else that's gotten into the grass.
Excellent.
It's-
Anyone else
seems
have
to
any
be a nice
questions on the
even-
fields before Brendan moves on?
The baseball.
Nope.
No.
Okay, great. Thanks, Brendan.
Yep. Our next thing is return to work in the May 18th governor's announcement on what our next steps for reopening the state. So we've already been talking about it here in the office, and from a department head standpoint, we're kind of targeting May 18th to returning to working out of the office, having the staff in and physically distancing. We've come up with a plan where everyone can be separated. We're going to utilize the function rooms, the ceramics room, and move workstations to those areas as needed. I met today actually with John Sanchez and Susan Luminello. John does facilities and Susan is our director of the Board of Health. And presented them the plan. They're going around to all departments and presented them the plan, and we walked the building and we showed him our area and showed him what we were talking about. And he was very pleased. Both of them were, that we already had this. It wasn't something they had to design for us, not knowing how our normal operations or typical operations. And they were happy with that. John with facilities is going to work on getting some kind of clear barrier for our front counter. So at the time when we can have customers back in the building, that we have some kind of protective barrier for them to stand behind and our staff to stand behind. They talked about getting, excuse me, hand sanitizers and things like that to provide for the departments. We've already taken it out upon ourselves to start to purchase hand sanitizer when it's available, and masks and gloves, so that we are prepared for an opening and for our staff to comfortably come back into the office. But also, I know Kelly's going to talk about programs a little in a bit, but also being prepared for, operating our summer programs and being able to have enough, I guess I'll use the term PPEs, personal protective equipment, for the staff, if that's required, if that's going to be in the governor's orders, if they allow Parks and Recreation departments to operate summer programs. I know Connecticut came out today and said summer camps can operate. So I know they've talked about doing things regionally. I don't know how that will affect us. But we have taken the steps to purchase some of those and make sure we have enough on hand at least to get us through a couple months this summer. And then not knowing what the fall is going to look like, we should have enough to get us into the fall as well. And as far as the maintenance staff, I'm working on a plan to stagger the shifts for our maintenance staff, similar to what we did early in the process, or early in this COVID-19 situation, where we'll keep them in the groups that they've been working in now, but we'll bring in 4, an hour before the next group comes in. So they are staggered. They're out working outdoors. As long as they remain physically distant from each other, they can work on the same properties. So, and work on the same job sites, as long as they remain physically distant. And again, their jobs are outside, almost all the time at this time of year. So I should have that plan early next week. And that will be something that we work on an agreement with the union, because it's a change to their typical work schedule. It's something that DPW is doing. And we did for this current stretch where they're 4 on, 4 off for a week at a time. So we're moving forward with those as well. With the idea that, somewhere on the 18th or that week that we are back to, a full staff in the office without customers and residents coming in.
Anyone have any question on the staffing? And
How's it working out right now? How we're doing the shifts with the maintenance?
It's working out. So we're able to get, now that the grass is coming, that's changing things, because we were able to work in a couple different areas, but now, we rely on both of the large mowers being out, and then a full cutting and trimming crew out. And by full, that's anywhere from 3 to 5 people, just on the trimming crew, or the small mowers. So we're getting to the point where it's going to be helpful to have all 8 guys in. And we're going to look at, how we're going to bring in some seasonal help, probably at some point in June, because the grass is just going to keep growing. We've had one person this week going around and just, scarifying the infield. So just scratching them up a bit. They had already been done once this year. And, we want to prevent weeds and stuff from growing in. So this week, one person was going around doing that. We had both mowers out today, the large mowers, and one person operating the smaller cutting crew. So, this being really the second week that we started to cut, we haven't gotten too far behind yet, but in 2 weeks, having a full crew in will be very helpful, especially going into Memorial Day. And, we're not out gathering in groups, so we don't have, the youth sports playing and stuff, but we still have to maintain the fields. So it's been going well. I know that was long-winded. I tend to be long-winded, but it's going well. I didn't want to just give you it's going well.
That's good. Thank you.
Yes. But going along with that, talking about group gatherings and stuff, we have heard and seen some rumors, and I know the parents, graduating class Facebook pages and all those things have all kinds of, ideas on them. But I did touch base with the superintendent yesterday regarding potential graduation, what that might look like, and also our use of the schools in the summers, or in the summer, if we're able to operate in a somewhat typical fashion, or even operate at all. The graduation thing is more about, us being prepared. If they are gonna, for example, set up, a stage in the stadium or whatever, and, allow kids to walk across it, and have their families take pictures and set them up in time slots, or, if they were going to do something in front of the school and have an area where they could take a picture. We want to be able to have some time to make sure the grounds are prepped as they usually are for graduation, and that they're presentable and look nice. So I know the high school principal is working on some kind of graduation plan, and they have, an internal deadline on when that needs to be done and presented. So I just asked for a 3-week notice, whatever they're going to do, so that we have time to get in there and get the grounds prepared. And then we also spoke about the use of the schools. If we traditionally use a couple of the schools for rain locations for our summer programs, but also run at least one program out of Francis Wyman School in the summer. So, as long as we're able to operate, the superintendent didn't see any issue why we wouldn't be able to use the schools. So that was good to know and good to hear. So it helps our program planning, at least know that if we're able to operate and however it's determined we're able to operate, that we do have some locations, our typical rain locations. So anything else on that? Does anyone have any questions on that, I guess, before I move on?
I'm all set, Kevin Sullivan.
I'm
Okay.
good.
Well said.
All right, my next thing is the new Parks and Recreation Maintenance, Central Maintenance Facility. We did get down there, or I was down there the end of last week, just to kind of poke around and nose around the site. And I did get to see, I'm going to share my screen with you guys so that you can see they are coming along on the site. So they have all the old buildings down. We talked, they have some footings coming in place, and the other, another picture here. Looks like they're losing a little excavator there, but it's down in a hole. They are, as you can see, getting some. Can you guys see that? Right?
Yes.
Okay. They are running into some ledge a little more than they had anticipated. So that is there. It's quite a. It looks like a huge site without the buildings there. So it is. If you get a chance to swing by, you can pull in a parking lot right next to the site and get out and take a look. Pretty nice. But another positive thing, to seeing walls starting to come in, foundations, was this next picture I'm going to share with you, which is we picked a color scheme for the building. So we have, I don't know if I can increase this at all. We do have a bluish grayish color for the building. So that was picked. They need to start fabricating the metal structure, and they needed the colors, the color scheme. So that's a drawing or a plan of what that will look like. So we do have I think a nice color palette there. In the building down the road, the new DPW garage will be the same color scheme. It was important, to do both the same, whatever the color that was picked. So we're excited about that. So I am going to stop sharing now. We'll go back. I am going to share my screen again in a minute because I have some other pictures to share with everybody. So we are moving forward on that. And then my next item is the Mary P.C. Cummings Estate Park. We had talked back in February. The trustees were looking to, had gone to conservation and regarding clearing the invasives up on the site to recreate that grand lawn or picnic lawn that used to be there before the invasives came in, and looking at some boardwalks on some of the wet trails and then a boardwalk out into the wetlands. So I was recently informed via email that went out to town departments that the construction work to restore Mary Cummings Park is going to begin this Friday. This includes a park entrance, a pollinator garden, or pollinator meadow, and a picnic lawn, and also a parking area for about 20 cars. Haven Construction out of Westwood, Mass, was awarded the bid, and so they're going to have a new 20-spot parking lot on the other side of the water tank going down Blanchard Road, and so that's going to offer access there. It's going to have a bike rack as well. There is some bike paths over there to encourage people to bike, and then they can park their bike and sit on the picnic lawn. They are also constructing a boardwalk to the marsh, and they were able to do that through a donation from Millipore Sigma there. So the trustees, the stewardship staff there will also enhance some of the trails, the existing trails, and build some new trails to improve circulation, but also correct drainage and reduce the impact of the wetland resources or impact on wetland resources. So there is work going on up there. I don't know if anyone's seen the clearing of the brush that they've done. The invasive species, it was pretty impressive. It's quite an area, and it's across from the Oracle parking garage, just past the water tower up there. So with that, the town is also looking at, we're in the beginning stages. The 10-year agreement is coming up, I think, in 2 years. So we should start looking at, continuing that agreement. So Kevin, as the chairman, I'll ask if there's someone from the commission that, we can reach out to the town administrator and say, we'd like to be involved in this as this goes forward.
Okay, I can do that.
You want to do that?
Yeah,
Okay.
the subcommittees are pretty quiet, so.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
So that's coming up. We'll have to keep our eye on that. And as far as we looked into the title for Marvin Field in that area, that is, they reached back out, town council reached back out to the trustees again, and they had a change in Boston, the city of Boston, maybe on their legal team or something. So that's still happening. They just reached out to them again and said, hey, we're following up from our February email. And like with everything, with the whole COVID-19 situation, things get, pushed back as groups figure out how they're dealing with, the current situation. So that's still out there, and I will keep you guys informed as I hear more. So that's my report until we get to the warrant articles.
Okay. Brendan, can you talk about the field usage and the playgrounds? There's been some pushback. I know people wanting basketball courts opened and so forth. Any standards that we're following?
So we're still following the governor's guidance that he had put out previously. Board of Health would like to see, echoes that and wants to keep basketball courts, tennis courts, those courts closed. Again, on the 18th, when the governor releases further guidance on how he's, would like to see the state opening, we're prepared. We have signage that we have ordered to put up in our parks and on the school grounds, talking about physical distancing and what that looks like, good hygiene, following the CDC's guidelines. So we'll continue, with the parks are open, the facilities in the parks are not. And I know that sounds weird, but people can go and walk the walking paths. They can walk through a park as long as they practice physical distancing. But at the time, their health and safety is most important. And I know everybody has different feelings, but we're looking at the general public and how that affects them. So we keep the equipment, the playground equipment, the fitness equipment, the basketball courts, the tennis courts, pickleball courts, and athletic fields closed to prevent people from gathering. I know there's people getting itchy to go out there and use them. But I think we still need to err on the side of caution right now.
Right.
Everything goes back to the May 18th governor, everything. I mean, the whole economy. We're all kind of waiting on what happens there. Some other states have decided to open, and some of them have had good luck and others have had spikes, but we're gonna err on the side of caution.
Okay. So Brendan, could we have staff then add the yellow tape on the equipment that can't be used? I know TRW, the tape has come down and on the swings and stuff like that. Can we just make sure that those equipment still have the tape on it?
Yes, if they don't, I ask them to go, the first thing they're asked to do every day is to go check the parks, make sure the equipment is still, secured with tape. So if there are areas, if people see it, let me know. I try to get to all of the parks every day. Today, I didn't really get out of the office much. Twice I did. But I will reiterate that and ask them to make sure. I've noticed TRW a couple times that it's blown off and ripped off. So
Yeah. Okay, anyone else on that?
I heard like on the 18th, they're gonna open up like tennis courts, basketball, like what they did the announcement today with the golf being open.
Yep.
She was saying today, that's the, probably the go date as far as recreation goes, as far as tennis, all the stuff that people are looking to do in parks. So with social distance, so you can social distance with tennis, pickleball, stuff like that. The skateboard park, all that type of stuff, I think is what they're looking at to open up.
yeah, I think they're gonna try to do a reverse of how they closed it, maybe with some changes. It would be great if the governor came out and said, prior to the 18th, and said, starting on this date, because he may come out with it on the 18th, but it may say starting on the 25th or starting, on a date in the near future, when it could be open. So, I wish we had some insight on that. I did get a calendar shared with me through Mass Rec and Park Association of when, how they were making decisions, when drafts are due. And it really doesn't look like the final drafts are going to be to the governors until the end of next week. So that would be, what would that be, the 15th, I think. So, because they need time to go back and forth and work things out and, gather the input from those that are affected, businesses and municipalities, restaurants, all of that.
Well, Brendan, if you open up the basketball courts, can you put up a sign that says to prevent social contact, you can't play defense?
That's like today's NBA.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Play then.
No, like I mentioned, we do have signs talking about physical distancing, that we were able to, borrow a lot of the verbiage and stuff from the National Recreation and Park Association, and then we made it fit our area. So we have our logo on it, and those should be in the beginning of next week. Half of them are done. The other half, they're getting more stock to print the sign. So I just spoke with them today. So we will be prepared for that, reminding people the physical distance, because I think that's going to be part of whatever plan comes out. Is we need to continue to social distance. We like to use physical distance because social distance, some people are close talkers, and that's not acceptable. So we need to, we're using the term physical distance. So.
All right. Anyone have questions for Brendan?
No.
Okay. So do we want to go into Kelly Lehman's report, program coordinator?
Thank you, Kevin.
So Kelly, before you start, my most important thing would be, can you offer an online class on hair cutting? We need it bad.
I do.
We can see what we can do. How's that?
And
right.
hair coloring.
And coloring. Yes, Dave, you're right. We started our summer registration on Wednesday, April 29th. And we opened registration for summer programming, full day summer programming for youth. We had a really great response, an initial response, and a lot of our middle school parks program is full. A lot of our gymnastics program is full. And we are getting close to full on some weeks of Club Simons, but we're not quite there yet. But we anticipate more registrations on June 1st when there is no limit to the number of weeks you're allowed to register for. So we're excited about that. Our next registration will be held next Wednesday, May 13th, for all other summer programming. That includes things like tennis lessons, fitness classes, some special event stuff, other adult programming such as golf, if courses are allowed to open, so that's exciting. So we are hopeful that that registration will go as smoothly as the first one. We did have a skeleton crew in the office to handle questions or concerns residents might have while registering or about the new process. And I think that worked out very well. This will be an online only registration. So to help with some of our population who isn't comfortable with online registration, we've sent emails out to all of them outlining what process needs to happen. In addition to that, we've also uploaded a video on our YouTube channel that outlines how to register online for people who don't necessarily know how to do that. And we'll be posting a link to that on our social media in the next several days. We also have been maintaining our social media footprint. We have a lot of great stuff and a lot of good content on there. I particularly like the Full House video that our staff put together. If you haven't had a chance to take a look at it, you should. But Kate DeAngelis and Emma Jones have been doing an amazing job balancing their programming responsibilities while keeping our social media up to date and relevant. So kudos to them. We are also working on another round of virtual programming. So Jesse, Beth Ganley, and have been working on developing content for new virtual programs, and you'll see us launch them the beginning of next week. So that is something for people to look forward to. And the last thing that I'm going to talk about today is we're trying to stay engaged with our staff, our part-time staff. A lot of them we are engaged with as far as virtual programming is concerned, but we wanted to recognize our part-time staff who are graduating either college or high school this year. So Emma Jones and Kate DeAngelis went and created some congratulation signs, and we used some signage that we had up at Overlook, and we created signs and put them on all of our graduates' lawns for congratulating them as part of the class of 2020.
Oh, that's really nice. That's very nice.
I saw a couple of them out there. They look good.
Thanks.
So Kelly, can you talk about what the parameters are going to be on the programs, numbers and so forth that you're basing it on, just in case people are watching on TV?
As of right
they're
now,
tired of watching every rerun there is now, so.
As of right now, we are basing our programs on groups of no more than 25 people total, including participants and staff. So when people were able to register for our summer programs, it was limited to either 15 or 20 registrants per program per week, just to be able to accommodate that. As Brendan kind of indicated earlier, we are waiting for Governor Baker to set some broader regulations as far as camps and programs are concerned, and we're hopeful that we'll be able to loosen those restrictions. We do have plans in place for just about every level of his announcement. We have plans for groups of no more than 25, no more than 50, no more than 100, no more than 250, and then no more than 500. And then obviously we would open up most of our programming and special events after that point. So we're anxiously awaiting for more information from the governor. And you know, when he does come out with that information, we feel confident that we have a relative plan for us to go on moving forward.
Okay, questions for Kelly? Anyone?
Kelly, real quick, what about staffing for the summer programs? How are we gonna go about that? How's that gonna work?
We are currently staffing as though we will be running typical programming with a number of caveats as far as if things happen and we aren't allowed to open, your hours may be reduced, your program assignment may be changed, or the job may be completely eliminated. So we've sent information out to all of our returning staff and directors. We're working on finalizing the contracts and sending them out hopefully next week to all of our staff as well. But we're forging ahead, hoping that we are able to run typical programming.
Nice.
Excellent. Hey, Kelly, Kevin Sullivan again. Hey, when you do the virtual programs, I've been seeing them on Facebook, which is awesome. Do you think you could email the previous participants in those programs just so they're aware of it also?
We do that. We do that already. We did that with the first round. And the plan is once we've come up with we're developing a virtual program brochure. And once that's completed, we'll be emailing that out to everybody once again.
Excellent.
Mhm.
All right. Anyone else have questions for Kelly?
Nope.
No? Okay.
Thank you.
Kelly, thank you for doing all that hard work. That's so hard to plan for every option and not know which way you're going to go. That must be torture on you, because I know you like everything organized and perfectly set up and
bit.
all the ducks
A
in a
little
row.
bit, just a little bit. Yeah, no, the program staff has been working really hard on it. They've been really good, and some of the information that comes out of our program staff meetings is really insightful. And they've been instrumental in being able to put that together. So I'll pass that along to them as well.
Yeah. I was watching the Parks and Recreation special last week, and I was watching, and I was thinking of you, like you'd have to get subcommittees and groups.
That might have been said to me on multiple occasions.
Yes. That was good. All right. So if we're all set with program coordinators report, new business, we have to vote to prioritize the fiscal year 21 warrant articles. And Brendan, do you want to mention all the warrant articles first, and then we can start talking about it?
Sure. So I'm just gonna, I had met with the Ways and Means Subcommittee to go through them. They approved all of our warrant requests for next year. This is in the event that we are asked to potentially cut back on our requests. And again, I want to state that they approved all of them, just as you guys, as the Recreation Commission had. They thought it might just be best that the Recreation Commission vote on a prioritized list so that it's not put up to, like the full Ways and Means saying, oh, we think this is important, that we're able to present a prioritized list if we have to. So this is a just in case. So my thought was that how I prioritize them, I felt the Rahanis Tennis Court resurfacing should be something that is done this year in FY21. It is, considered a safety issue as the cracks continue to develop. we don't want to risk someone twisting an ankle in a crack that gets bigger, but also, they start to the more water gets in, they'll continue to crack further and deeper as it freezes and thaws. The Procore aerator would be something that we would ask continue forward with for fiscal year 21. That being, or the reason for that being, we're making progress on our field maintenance, and we don't, this is a piece of equipment that will keep moving us forward. We don't want to get behind. We feel it's an important piece of equipment to have. Then we have the Wildwood Sunshade for over the playground there. That is something I think, they had asked to look at, town administration had asked to look at, what could go, what you wanted to go with this year, what could maybe wait until January town meeting so we can see how the fall is, the rest of the summer in the receipts, and look at possibly requesting, for some of these articles, putting them off until January town meeting. So this is something I identified as January. The reasoning for that is we wouldn't go out to bid for the work for this until July 1st at the earliest. That's the time of year when we're going to be, hopefully out utilizing the playground. We wouldn't want to shut it down any longer than we already have. So by going at this in January, we can possibly get a better price, but also it's some work that we can do in the early spring. We can get out and install this. And then the last one was our Parks and Outdoor Facilities Master Plan. Although it expires and, we utilize these plans in our planning, that we felt next, moving it to FY22 would be the best. So really FY21 having the tennis courts and the aerator in June if and when we go to town meeting, and then looking at possibly requesting the sunshade in January if they do those type of requests then, and then looking at pushing the outdoor facilities master plan to FY22. And then the fifth, which I don't think anyone's going to balk at, but that's the Simon's Trust accepting the $67,000. I don't think that needs to be on the priority list because we'll be accepting money and not expending. So that was my list.
Okay, discussion on Brendan's list. Anyone want to rearrange that order or feel passionately about any of those?
Um,
I'm okay with it.
I'm okay.
I think that makes the most sense. Did Ways and Means or Town Administrator, Brendan, give this, Dave Norton, did they sort of give you a number of how much, like 100,000? Did they give you a set number of what they're definitely going to be taking stuff away. There's no doubt about it. I think.
No, but right now our request is roughly. Sorry, I'm
You
going
took the aerator and the tennis courts. How much money is that?
The aerator is 26, and the tennis courts are 65. So we're at 91 there. And then we had another, the sunshade was 50. So there's 141, and then 40 for the master plan. So we were looking at 180. We'd be cutting it in half.
Yeah, I think the first two should be our priority, and then we can, like you said, this is my opinion, but that sounds good to me.
Hey, Tom, how is school department doing it? Have you got to it yet?
We've started to preliminarily talk about it. We haven't made any final decisions, but we've, from what I understand, they're looking for us to knock about $500,000 off of what we had been approved for before all the stuff happened. So, and so what it looks like is going to happen, the revitalizing or rehabbing the varsity field was going to be on our one of our warrant articles this year. It's been 10 years since that field has been put in, hard as that is to believe. And then
Wow.
we're supposed to, after 10 years, look to not redo the whole thing, but there's a refurbishing procedure that they come in and do. So that project, price-wise, fits into what the town is potentially looking for us to reduce our warrant articles by. So nothing's been decided, but there's a good chance that we might postpone that particular project until next year. But as of our last meeting, we're still waiting for a little bit more feedback from town hall as to what they're looking for us to do, and the school committee was administration put together a priority list similar to what Brendan's done, and I think the inclination on the committee's part is to go with what the administration is going to recommend, but that hasn't been 100% decided yet.
All right, Kevin, any comments? And Dave, any comments?
No.
No, I'm good. Thanks, Kev.
Okay, so why don't we entertain a motion that we prioritize the list to be Rahana's tennis courts renovation, number 1, the aerator, number 2, Wildwood Sunshade would be ranked number 3, the master plan, number 4, and Brendan, are we putting Simon's Trust as number 5 or just leaving it off because it doesn't need to be prioritized?
I mean, if you would like to add that in, that would probably be number 1, accepting. But these are expenditures as opposed to accepting revenue, but it might be good to have it on the list.
Okay,
So you could put it in at 1 or 5. Either way, I don't think they're gonna balk at it.
okay, so why don't we change it that Simon's Trust will be number 1, Rahana's number 2, Pro Court Aerator number 3, Wildwood Sunshade number 4, and the master plan number 5. Can I have a motion for that?
So
So
moved.
moved.
Second.
Okay.
You got it.
Okay. So Dave, how about you made the motion? Tom, you second it? Does that sound right?
Yes, correct.
Okay. Any discussion on the motion? Okay. So David Norton made the motion and Tom Murphy seconded it.
Thank you.
Sound good? Okay. So it's a roll call vote. So Kevin Sheehan,
Yay.
David Norton,
Aye.
Tom Murphy,
Aye.
and Kevin Sullivan, aye. So that's 4-0-0 in favor, and it passes. Okay, Brendan, do you have any other new business?
No other new business.
Okay, does anyone on the commission have any new business?
Not me.
No, not me.
Okay. And Brendan, do we have any old business?
I do. I have 2 quick items. I just wanted to follow up the East Middlesex mosquito control. They did make it into town yesterday. They landed their helicopter at Mary P.C. Cummings Park, State Park, and lifted back off and went off to wetlands, wherever they were going around the area to spray for mosquitoes. So they did come in. If you recall, I sent out an email just letting you know that they didn't come in last week when they were scheduled to. It got put off, but the weather is such. And then I just wanted to, something we've been talking about, let you know that I'm going to share my screen again. So the shed at Rahana's came down quite quickly. Here is a picture of the first swipe at the shed. It was a cement roof. There was about 4 pieces of rebar across the whole thing. The contractor said we were lucky that it was still standing. That was soon after everything came down. Once the roof came off, they popped it once or twice and it came off, and then got it cleaned up. It's in a dumpster that was taken away today from the site, and here's what it looks like now. nice clean pad ready for a shed to come in and be sat on top.
Excellent.
So
That's
went
great.
down quick and ready to for the shed to come on board. So that was it. That's all I have.
Okay. Anyone else have any old business that needs to be discussed?
Not me.
No.
Nope.
Um, Brendan, there's no need for an executive session.
No need for an executive session.
Okay. And for potential meeting date, do we know when we'll need to get together again?
I don't yet, but you know, we may have to have one next week, especially if any you know, thing pops up, if any new announcements come out from the governor's office and it's gonna, you know, require some kind of vote or anything, but you know, I know we're scheduled to regularly meet on Mondays and this past Monday would have been town meeting, right? Was it the 6th or no, next week would have started town meeting. But anyways, we're not at that point yet to be meeting again, but we will have to have one before town meeting in June, and I anticipate at least one more prior to that in the next week or two. So if Thursdays work for people, I know this time seems to work for people. Maybe we have one next week after the governor, or prior to the governor coming out. We'll play it by ear. I will send you an email if I see something that we need to have a meeting on.
All right, that sounds excellent. Does that sound good with the other commissioners?
Yes, absolutely.
Sounds
Sure.
good.
All right, so we'll just leave the next meeting up in the air until we know what the governor's rules are going to be, and then we can adapt.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, I think everyone just be safe. Hopefully we're almost over this, but it would be nice to get through it all and everyone be safe.
Thank
Okay,
you. Thank you.